This story took place during the summer of last year. At the time, I was 35 years old, and I would usually go fishing by myself at a lake near my house. My house is located in a rural neighborhood. On my property, I also have a fairly large lake that I would normally fish on. The lake was probably a 15-minute walk away from my house, so not far at all. Anyways, on this particular day, I decided to go fishing a little later in the day than I would normally go. This is because I was doing construction on my house in the morning, so I was extremely busy. I picked up my fishing rods, the bait, a chair, and set out towards the lake. Today I did not feel like walking, so I took my ATV that I have at my house. This meant I arrived at the lake within a matter of minutes. The first thing I did was set up the bait on the hook. Then I swung the fishing rod and just waited. In the meantime, I set up my chair, sat down, and enjoyed the nice summer breeze. This was looking to be an amazing day. The weather was not too warm or cold. Suddenly, I felt my rod being pulled. I instantly shot up out of my chair and grabbed the rod. I started pulling and reeling the fish in as best as I could. I did not want to lose this fish, as it was my first catch of the day. Luckily, I was able to reel the fish in. It was a catfish, the size of 1 foot, so nothing too crazy. But either way, I was elated. As I was pulling out the hook from the fish, I happened to catch a glimpse of something across the lake. It looked like a silhouette of a person. I looked up and realized it was a person. It was a man dressed in all black, staring directly at me. I was confused as to why the person was on my property. This is weird, as my property connects to the tree line, where it is just hundreds of feet full of woods. There was no way for the person to get here without me seeing them. I called out to them, "Can I help you?" There was no answer. The man continued to stare directly at me. "You're trespassing on my property. Did you know that?" I asked. The man continued to stare at me, lifelessly, without saying a single word. Now, stuff like this does not usually happen to me, so I was caught off guard. I decided I would walk over to the other side of the lake and see what the man was doing. When I was about halfway to the other side, the man started to speed walk towards the water in the lake. I was so confused and scared at the same time. In a matter of seconds, the person reached the water and fell in. This terrified me. I screamed at the man to leave because I was starting to get annoyed. The man then got out the water and started running away deep into the woods. That's when I hopped on the ATV and drove home. I grabbed my shotgun and drove back to the edge of the woods. I shot a single shot into the ground in order to scare anybody in sight. For the rest of the day, nothing else happened. The weird part is that the man seemed to be in some kind of weird trance. The way he walked and fell in the water seemed robotic. Either way, I'm just happy the man left in the end and the situation did not escalate. This story happened when I was fishing with my 10-year-old son. It was summer at the time, and I wanted to do something cool with my son. I was going to take him out onto the lake with our boat and we would go fishing together. After finishing packing the car with all of the supplies needed, I attached the trailer with the boat onto the back of the car. Finally, we were both ready to go. The drive to the lake was not long, only about 45 minutes. When we arrived at the lake, I parked the car and unloaded the boat. I then fixated the boat into the water, and both my son and I climbed in. When we reached a good spot, we both set out fishing rods, and we sat there talking. We talked about school, drank fruit punch, and overall had a good time. That was until something horrifying happened. After catching around 5 fish, I started to hear this weird sound coming from my right. Keep in mind, the lake was huge. I instantly looked to my right, only to notice a man in a boat coming towards my boat. I was a little confused, but decided to ignore the person and continue fishing with my son. I knew the man would have to go around us in order to avoid colliding with our boat. As I continued fishing, I still kept an eye on the person that was heading right towards us. The fact that the man did not change course and was heading directly towards us concerned me, so I decided to power on the boat and change locations. I did not want to cause any trouble and was willing to move. I decided to move left towards a different part of the lake. After reaching the second location, I made sure to look around to make sure the person was nowhere in sight. He wasn't, so I once again began fishing with my son. Not even 5 minutes later, I started to hear the exact same sound again. It was coming from the same direction as last time. I turned to my right and saw the same guy driving the boat directly at my boat. I did not want to scare my son, so I just told him we have to leave, as it was getting late. I knew something bad was about to happen. I once again powered on the boat and sped back towards the location of my car. This time, I could see the guy chasing after me with his boat. Once I reached the car, I grabbed my son and left the boat running to the car. In a matter of seconds, the strange man crashed his boat into mine. The man then jumped off and started running towards my car. Luckily, by the time the man was about to reach the car, we were both able to leave. 45 minutes later, we reached our house and got home safely. To this day, I have never returned back to that place to retrieve my boat. I also don't plan on ever returning back. It's scary to think about the fact that the man probably had horrible intentions to crash into my boat while out in the middle of the lake. On this particular day, my friend and I wanted to go fishing. The weather was nice, as it was a random day in June. In fact, it was very warm out. After a lot of planning, we finally decided to go down to the lake and fish. This is one of our favorite things to do when we are bored. When we arrived at the lake, we decided to unpack all of our supplies. The water looked very calm and beautiful. The lake was located near a large patch of woods. The woods stretched out for miles on end. I was actually surprised when we first arrived at how dark the woods appeared. It was as if not a single ray of sunlight would hit the woods, even during the day. Anyways, after setting up our chairs and fishing rods, we sat down and cracked open a couple of beers. We both began talking about life, our jobs, and just about everything else you can think of. A loud sound from deep in the woods caught both my friend and I off guard. I was startled and scared. The sound did not sound real. It had a kind of robotic tone to it. My friend suggested we walk into the woods and try to see what made that sound. And that's exactly what we did. We both approached the woods. The atmosphere quickly shifted into a dark and horrifying setting. The woods looked lifeless. "What do you think could have made that sound?" my friend asked. "I honestly don't know. Maybe some sort of large animal," I replied. I walked deeper into the woods, my friend following me. We could not find anything. I decided it would be a good idea to just return back to our chairs and continue fishing and move on with our day. As soon as we reached the chairs, the same loud sound from the woods startled both of us. I flinched and immediately looked towards the woods in fear. That's when I thought I saw something run deeper into the woods. It looked like a silhouette of a large person or animal. "We have to check this out one more time," I told my friend. He agreed with me, and we both started walking back towards the woods. "Hello? Is there anyone out there?" I screamed in a loud voice. No answer. My friend then nudged me to get the hell out of here. This time, I agreed. We walked back, packing up our fishing gear, and left. To this day, I am not sure what was making those weird sounds in the woods.